onions growing up, drying up on the second floor of the stone kitchen there.
Well, this wall was grown over and it's largely fallen down. So the last, the year before, not this last year, but the 2 years before, I had help cleaning the debris out and the trees, but I rebuilt the wall. The only section I didn't redo was this middle section right here. On the other side, you can kind of see, because you'll see a lighter color stone. It's all the same stones. I never brought a single stone up here. Joe's people did all that. I just relaid them. And then this tree here, which I think is an offspring of the original 6 pecans,
Probably.
it grew in the fence row where you don't want them to grow. You're not supposed to let that happen. So Joe, I don't know what you were doing with the lawnmower back then.
we turned sheep on it.
Okay, well, anyway, you missed one. But it was such a beautiful tree, I couldn't help but leave it. And the roots had already grown, so I built the wall around it so it wouldn't hurt it. I didn't want any of the rocks touching the tree. But anyway, so then the other thing was all the electricity that was coming into the house. I wanted to kind of hide it. It's hard to live without electricity, trying to make everything restored, but it turns out that the Kentucky Historic Society, their recommendation is that you understand the difference between restoration, reconstruction, and preservation. And those words are, I never really thought about it, but then I got to thinking about it, and they mean 3 different things. So a restoration is you use the materials you got right there and put it back just like it was. And whatever wasn't there, you can fill in with the same material. So they're big on restoring doorways and windows, things like this. The idea of reconstruction is if something is gone, then you try to rebuild it exactly like it was to the best of your ability. And preservation sounds like it would all be a part of the same thing, but it's not. Preservation is how to make it last forever what you have, and so they recommend that you have electricity in your restored house, and because they are big believers in air conditioning and heat. And this house does not have air conditioning and heat yet, but it has electricity all buried, so the landscape looks original. Behind this wall over here, you may or may not have seen it, but that's where I hid the electrical. So I extended the wall down about another 12 feet, and I had the electricity put in from that pole, and all the lines taken down. There were lines in the front and back, and I had it all put under, and then I ran it to the house, and then to the cabin, and to the spring house from one line, and the other line goes back to the metal barn, and to that little house. I call it the tree house now, but that was a garage. It looks like from 1920. But Joe missed another tree over there. There was a maple that pushed it over, and it pushed it over about a foot and a half. And I got to looking at it. How much would it cost to rebuild a roof and all that? That's not really a part of the historic thing, but I chopped the top 2 of the 3 shoots of the maple off, and then we dug out, I had help with digging out 3-foot footers under the whole thing, poured concrete, and then shoved the building back over and tied it to the maple. So it's now standing erect, and it's, I call it a tree house now. The tree's growing. You can see the tree over there, it's right in it. This cabin is, meets the, part of it's been a restoration, that's the chimney, and the floor, and the building itself is a reconstruction, exactly where the site was and what it looked like. So you see how the window up at the top is kind of cockeyed? That's how it was. You use a picture that Joe's mother provided to the federal government with the Park Service to get this made a historic site in 1976. and I came up with a measurement for the doorway based on how high I thought the man was in the picture, and came up with that, and then used that to come up with the dimensions. I knew the dimensions of the floor plan because the chimney and the stones from where the hearth would have been were still there, but those had all been laid with mud and dirt, so that had been eroded when the pecan tree that Joe talked about fell on it. That's what destroyed the cabin. But the chimney was not destroyed, that was restored. So you can see where my lines come in, and that was the scariest part of the stonework, was doing the chimney, because well, anyway, on that I got some help with a lift, and we did it with a lift up at the top, because I didn't trust myself with that. And instead of using dirt, that chimney, the first thing I did was I checked the footers under the chimney, and the chimney footers, they're actually to code, Kentucky code, even before there was a code. They're 3 feet down, and that was nice, and they were still standing perfectly erect. And what I did then was mark where the stones were on the corners, and you could see where they were from where the trees had grown into it. And this was like a little forest there. Took the trees out, found the stone footers. It was a dirt floor, but there were a lot of stones laying around, so I imagine that at some point some stones were used to walk on. And what I did then was I got an excavator, and we dug out down, so I'd have 3-foot footers, filled it with concrete, tied it to the footers of the chimney. So this thing's going to be here for quite a while. What I did to reconstruct was not use, I consulted with folks that know about building log cabins, and they told me the last thing you want to do is build a real log cabin. And in fact, the State Historic Society recommends that if you're going to mess with a log cabin, trying to restore one, that you cover the outside and not use wood, because it won't last. And you can still see Abraham Lincoln's place where they put it inside a, granite or something monument. But I wanted to preserve the shape, and also this is a reconstruction, and the wood on the outside actually is not wood. It's concrete. So there's a company that makes concrete wood, and on the inside, however, it's all wood. So that the inside logs match the outside, so it has the appearance of being real, even though it's not. But the chimney is real. That's the authentic part. That probably the Carlins had something to do with laying all the stones around here. And the inside, you can see I got a fire going in it. You're welcome to go inside. It's still a construction site inside. And what I'm doing is I'm using the old method from at least the Middle Ages anyway, of how to preserve wood by using a low heat, a low smoke. So a cold smoke is what they call it, just like you preserved meat back then. You did it with cold smoke at about 100 degrees. And what you're doing is you're letting the smoke get into the wood at a cold temperature, and that then replaces the pores of the wood, and it's an antifungal protection so it won't rot. So this is the right time of year to do it, when it's almost 100 degrees anyway. And then I got so much wood that falls out of trees, I gotta keep burning or I get behind. And what's on the fire right now are some scrap pieces of pecan. Right where that wood pile is, under that maple tree, is where the last pecan tree was. It was 6 feet by 5 feet in diameter, wouldn't you say, Glenn? No. Anyway, there was a big piece that was relatively flat. And when you go into the cabin, feel free to walk in and see it. And I'm using a big long piece to be the landing for the steps. Joe explained to me the original steps inside, and they actually were a ladder going up the wall. And so I'm not restoring anything on that. I'm not doing that. So I made it to be a V-shaped set of steps to be more like wood ladders. There were no pictures of what Joe told me, and I believed every word he said, but I didn't want to be the one having to go straight up into the cabin. So, and I think at one time there was, it added a wall. There was a wall in the middle of it to make it 2 rooms. I did not reconstruct that wall, but I did keep in the loft. And you can see how clever these people were. The building, the cabin, and the stone house and the brick house positioned perfectly north, south, east, west, and you always put your chimney on the south side because in the wintertime you want to get heat, because that's the big problem in human history is not enough heat. And now it's not enough air conditioning, but not enough heat. And then in the summertime you want it to cool off and you want it to be cool. So that kind of did both things. Then you would plant a deciduous tree. That's a mulberry. You'd want a deciduous tree that wasn't going to get so big to destroy your building, but you want the leaves on in the summertime to shade the stone, and then in the wintertime to come off so you get the heat of the sun. So that mulberry tree, I didn't plant it there. It was already there. I just decided it needs to be there anyway as part of the original deal. So it's an American mulberry. And why don't we walk over that way and y'all can take a look inside and look around. The back is the original.